Congressman, you've been involved in public service for most of your life. What made you interested in getting involved?
Well, it's easy to look back now and see how I got involved and where my interest came from, but if I were to sum it up to something, I would suggest that, interestingly, my great-grandfather helped create the Milk Control Board. A generation later, my grandfather served on the Milk Control Board, and my dad sued him. And ultimately, Governor Roscoe and I eliminated the Milk Control Board. It took 4 generations to get back to where it was before the government came in and actually messed things up. And when Dad sued him, he took it all the way to the Montana State Supreme Court. He lost the case 3-2, and he shut the Midland Guernsey Dairy down in Billings. And it was he was the 3rd generation. His dad's degree was in dairy farming, as was my grandfather's out of Montana State University. And it showed that the government, while well-intentioned, there was the unintended consequences that ultimately protected the big guys. And Dad's complaint was, I want to be bigger. I'm small family dairy. We had 200 milk cows. And to put the capital together necessary, I can produce a better quality milk cheaper than they're making me charge. They're making me charge a higher price. And that benefited the bigger guys. And Dad said, that's not fair. And so what you're really doing is squeezing out the little guys. And ultimately, that's what came to pass. Most of the small producers in Montana were put out of business by a government-regulated milk price. So Dad, when he shut the dairy down, opened up a restaurant. He became a short order cook. It was called Milky Way, right across from Eastern Montana College. And for the next 20 years, Dad cooked hamburgers and steaks. And he opened up at 5 in the morning and was there 7 days a week, and shut down his operation at 5 at night. And my grandma took over at 5 and closed down at 1 in the morning. And Dad was there the next day. I always remember how the public kind of went crazy when he shut down for Sundays, but he felt that 7 days a week was too much. And so I watched him struggle in a small business. But at the same time, it was kind of interesting. He had a little table in the back, and we called it the talking table. And there were doctors and lawyers, because it was next to St. Vincent's Hospital. There were oilmen and teachers, school teachers from Billings, and professors from the university. Just an interesting mix, and they would come. Usually they didn't have a spouse along. Some were men or women. Some were students, and they'd sit at this table, and Dad would cook for a while, and then he'd come and sit at the table. And then he'd cook for a while, and he'd come sit at the table. And eventually people said, well, you sound like you got all the answers. You know, you're a small businessman. You're kind of angry with government. So he decided to run for the legislature. So I was a little kid at the time, and I watched my dad as a page, and then as a legislative kid, and then I had an opportunity to intern in college in the legislature. And so I watched my dad in both the House and the Senate, just trying to go up and make a difference on behalf of his constituency. At that time, it was not one man, one vote, but you were elected by county in Montana, and Dad was one of the representatives and then one of the senators from Yellowstone County. So I really grew up watching my dad being involved in government. My mom at the same time, they were married shortly after she was out of high school, and she didn't get a chance to go to college. But when we finally made it to grade school, and I'm the younger of 2, Mom went back to college at Eastern, and she'd park us in the library, and we'd do our homework while she was studying to become a teacher. And ultimately, Mom became a teacher in Billings, and then headed up the reading program for 1st and 2nd grade for school district number 2. So, you know, I really had an opportunity to watch my parents be involved in public service, and it really gave me the foundation that when I went away to college, I knew ultimately I'd end up taking over the ranch. And we lived at the ranch, and Dad would drive in every day, and Mom would drive in every day. We lived in the country, but our lives were commuting back and forth between the ranch and Billings. I knew ultimately I'd be back on the ranch, but I also wanted to get something of a public service degree. And so my college degree was in public administration with an emphasis in state and local government. And so it was something that I knew I was going to be involved in, whether it was voluntary or I never anticipated professional. That gave me the chance when I was a young man looking to make a difference, and I was running the ranch. I had cattle. I had the chance to run for a state legislative seat, and in Montana it's almost voluntary. It's 90 days every other year with some interim meetings, and it fit in perfectly with my ranching operation. So I took the chance as a 28-year-old to run for the Montana legislature and was elected And so that gave me kind of the background with my mom and dad, my business background, going to the district and saying, you know, I think I can make a difference, and I've got some things I hope that it takes to do something for this district and for the state of Montana.